So, Michelle, since you're here, might as well answer this question, right? What's the coolest thing you learned about Puerto Rican culture or history?
That's a broad question. I learned a lot. Let me see. I don't even know. I don't even know how to answer that question. But we did learn about how they were colonized by so many other, not just the United States, other
Mhm.
like Europeans, and they are still colonized. And that for me, from the people I learned that the young generation actually they don't want to be colonized. They want to be their own independent country. And they're
Yeah.
trying, but the older people, I guess they're not, they want to keep on living off, the same way.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
mind, but the younger generation, they are, they do actually want to be independent.
Yeah, I feel like that's a common trait. Like trait, I don't think that's a word for it. I think that's a common theme in a lot of countries, especially like where the younger folk they want to, take a stand and stuff like that. And the older generations like we lived our lives like this the whole time. You just want to suddenly change everything. Like we should be fine, we're okay. So that's very interesting. Yeah. Are you Puerto Rican, Michelle? Because I know Gabriel is Dominican, but are you Puerto Rican by any chance?
No,
Okay.
I was Dominican American. I was born
Okay,
here,
okay.
so my
Okay.
parents are Dominican.
Okay. So I guess I mean even for Kathryn, I think she can answer this. Cool. Two. Um, what is the main difference between your culture and Puerto Rican culture?
I would say that the only difference will have to be the dialect. Like when it comes to
Mm.
our ways of articulating with slangs, because
Yeah.
we have so much in common. We reside in the Caribbean.
Hmm.
We tend to eat like almost the same dishes. And we tend to be very interactive. It's like the common stereotype that's always said that we're being loud, and not to
Hmm.
mention like the musical genres is very similar. I would say
Yeah.
that the only difference would have to be the dialect or our way
Yeah.
of portraying slang, and even so, only to a certain extent because there's actually like certain slang that we actually have in common.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's not much difference between
Mhm.
like us Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. That's the reason why we get along most of the time instead of feuding.
That is true. That is 100% true. But and as like an American too, right? Like we also have like Dominican Americans are different from Dominicans. That's 100% for sure. So I just wanted to know if there's any difference between that.
But why would you say that the Dominicans American are different? We do have we follow the same. I mean, maybe my kids' generation that they are
Hmm.
already second year, like their parents were both. Me and his dad were born here. Maybe they'll lose some customs, but I don't see any difference. The thing
Hmm.
is the slang. Maybe if you're
Yeah.
not going like you're not active in slang, but then everything else. I
Yeah,
was
we're
brought
pretty
up
hand in hand.
Dominican, so. I don't see the difference. Like, oh yeah, we're accustomed to some things, but it's not much of a difference. We eat the same thing.
That's
We
true.
just add different, the American way, but then everything else is the same. Even the way we talk, we have an accent, even if we were born here, whatever. And it's, I don't think there's much difference.
Hmm.
And neither in Puerto Rico, it's just the dialect that in every
Yeah.
country is different. But other than that, the food is very similar. Every country has the different dishes that they make different, but it's the same.
Mhm, mhm.
And the people are very charismatic. They're willing to help.
Yeah. Okay, I think maybe I would like try to rephrase it in a way where okay, New Yorkians, New Yorkers, right? What's the difference between people in New York, like the culture in New York and the culture in Puerto Rico? That's what I meant to like say, like, because each like even in the States, right? Each of us have a different culture. Each of us have a different mindset from other states. So what I'm trying to say is what is the difference between like people who live in New York and people who live in Puerto Rico? So that's what I'm trying to say.
I cannot speak for everybody,
Mhm.
but I would say that not everyone, obviously, but like in the neighborhood where I live at, there is a lot of Dominican Americans, and from what I've seen, it's like they're very detached from the
Mhm.
nationality. So it's like, yes, they were like they speak Spanish. Yes, they tend to like eat the same dishes as us, but simultaneously, it's like they weren't. as educated from their parents about their
Mhm.
nationality. Like when it comes
Yeah.
to like you can talk to them about things like La Guerra de Abril or any or any other impacted like impactful periods of
Mhm.
when it comes to like our Caribbean countries because they didn't grow up with those societal norms, and it's
Yeah.
not their fault either because it's like it's a New York thing. Like when
Yeah.
someone grows up over here, it's like they become too Americanized to the point where they honestly like lose touch from the history. And when it comes like from period to period, it just starts to fade away completely.
Yeah. Yeah, that
It's
is
like
very true.
it's like you're gentrifying the nationality in a
Hmm.
sense.
Gabriel, I don't think they do that because my parents, right? I'm learning about history, Dominican history now. Like I know some stuff, basic stuff, the things you hear, but it's not that they do it on purpose because I feel like my parents came here like when they were in their my mom came with 17, my dad was like 20. So then you're raising kids and then you're like they're teaching them something else in school. They don't have I don't feel like my parents ever had time to actually be like, yes, let me teach you something because the problem is like we know
Yeah.
it's always a rush. New York City, that's the difference. People are
Yeah,
so laid back and then here we are always on the go.
that's
So
true.
it's like, oh yeah, we want to sit down. Maybe sometimes, but there's no time. Like how? Like no matter how much they could talk to you, but kids are always on the rush of parents and everything. And it's like until like now that maybe your kids are older, they sit down and explain and say things. They always try to omit things too.
Yeah, that is true. New York is a very fast-paced environment, so we're always on the go for sure. Catherine, what about you?
I would have to say the one thing that stateside Puerto Ricans and island-born Puerto Ricans have different is Christmas. They
Ooh,
have, Puerto Rico, the longest Christmas known to man that it makes me jealous every time because they start somewhere like they exaggerate. They say they start in September and they go
September.
all, yeah, September, and they go all the way to about January 19th because that's the ending of the San Sebastian Festival. So they
Oh,
do from all of that, and then around Christmas time, everything is shut down. Nothing opens until after Three Kings Day when the kids start going
wow.
back to school, business is open. So it's like the longest, most celebrated time. And I'm like, we don't do that here. I want to
At
do
all,
that here.
yeah.
And
That's
I always get told
nice.
I have to move back over there if I want to celebrate the longest Christmas. So that's one thing we also have different. And another thing we have different is a lot of Puerto Ricans here don't speak Spanish at all.
That
It's
is
like they
true.
had to assimilate very quickly, very
Mm-hmm.
fast. When
Mm-hmm.
they took over Puerto Rico, they were told they had to learn English. That was
Mm.
like they threw Spanish out. It was not a primary language. So by that time, a lot of people just dropped Spanish. So there's like a lot of Puerto Ricans that don't speak Spanish. So that's where the culture clash comes in from
Interesting.
stateside and island-born Puerto Ricans.
Mm. Wow, that is very interesting. I think that's also like kind of like an American thing for like Hispanic families as a whole. Because as I was growing up, right, I used to speak really, really good Spanish, but because my mom was still practicing her Spanish, I mean her English, she wanted to like have like an English talking buddy, kind of like a language exchange buddy in a way. So she would practice her English with me, and we would talk English in our home. But the things that I would forget how to speak proper Spanish. And now I speak Spanish like como muy machucado. So like I can understand it and I can speak it to a point where I can have a conversation, but I cannot speak it very well. So I feel like I'm kind of like one of the examples of like assimilation to American culture, if that makes sense. Like I think personally I'm still very Dominican, but yeah.
I think it has something to do with code switching and like being bilingual as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also consider myself when it comes to me being bilingual, I could be in a room just speaking English for like straight 3 hours, and then when it comes to like me changing the setting to
Yeah.
like where we're gonna speak on proficient Spanish, I tend to like enredarme la palabra, and it gets like a little bit too difficult. And then by the time I finish perfecting it, then I revert to a room that speaks on where it's speak primarily English. That's when
Hmm.
the difficulties started to occur once again. So
Yeah.
it's like a flaw. I wouldn't say a flaw. It's like a defect in
Yeah.
regards to being bilingual. It's difficult to keep up with the two languages. Not to
Yeah.
mention like the different pronunciations. So you tend to tongue twist a lot. I mean, I tongue twist all the time
Yeah.
because of that.
Trust, I know like four languages, and sometimes when I'm speaking, like I accidentally use another language that nobody understands, and I'm like, oh shoot, wrong setting, let me switch back. So I completely understand. Um, did you face any challenges while studying abroad in Puerto Rico, and how did you overcome them?
I
Literally.
got sick.
Oh.
I got a very bad cold the last few
Mm.
days. So it's, it's not that we didn't have we had the thing for the hospital because we paid for the
Yeah.
insurance. But it's like, you're missing out on so much. And
Yeah, I
so that's
understand that
yeah, so that
so
was
well. Sorry, I interrupted, but I understand that completely. Oh my gosh.
No, I think I would have to say the only thing I that happened to me was like I had an allergic reaction and I didn't know to what.
Oh no.
So I think that was like the biggest challenge was just like having this moment that I was getting pimples running up and down my arm, my neck, and not knowing what was happening to me.
Oh my gosh. How did you deal with that?
Oh,
Like,
I didn't. I think I like
oh,
panicked
oh my
quietly.
God.
I was like, I went to the professor and I was like, listen, this is what's happening. I don't know. I'm not allergic to anything.
Yeah.
So we have like a problem here. And we thought it was like my shirt. So I changed
Mhm.
out of my shirt. We don't know if it was the food, bug spray. We have no idea. It was just like one of
Mhm.
those up in the air moments
Yeah.
where I was just like, this is getting out of hand. My lips got numb, my
Oh
tongue
my
was
God.
numb, and I was like, this is all I need. Okay. I said, it's
Wow.
happening.
Oh my gosh.
So
So
that
you
was
got
like the
sick
biggest
abroad
thing.
too. Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, I know too well how that feels.
Um, I didn't really experience much difficulty, but there's one thing that I want to say. I guess something that I did have like a small breakthrough that I managed to overcome in the beginning was familiarizing myself with everyone else because we all this is a small unity here. We don't know most of us don't know each other, so
Mhm.
it's like we don't know where we stand on. So it's like, okay, so how do I make this first impression? So like in the first couple of days, it was like, little by little, I was unveiling myself. But then
Mhm.
I would say that like within the whole within the middle of the week during the trip, that's when like throughout that course of action, I felt that I was already bonding with the rest of with the rest of the members. So I managed to like overcome that fear, and
Yeah.
it was something very brilliant too because it's like we started out without knowing each other whatsoever,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
then leaving as a family, which it
Oh,
was.
that's so nice.
yeah, that was great. Because we met once and I don't think anybody was there.
Mhm.
And then when we got, I felt like we instantly connected when we got there, like even the first few hours that we was just
Mhm.
like, okay, we meeting everybody because we didn't meet everybody. And I was like, we did great. Like our group was great. Like if anybody needed anything, it was
Mhm.
happening. We was always asking for each other, like, oh, where's this person? Where's that person? They in the room. Just to know, not even the professor will ask. We will all ask, like, oh,
Oh.
yeah, this person, okay. That's fine. And we would text each other, whatever. And, it was good because we had connection. Not because they told us, but we just grew into that connection. Because if you text me and I don't want to respond, I'm not going to respond.
Wow, that's so sweet. I feel like that's such a nice ex I think that's like kind of a plus of going in a faculty-led program because like you are surrounded by like, some classmates or students that you've talked to once or twice and then you come back being like the best of friends and I'm like, "Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. I love that. I genuinely love that. That's so nice."
You were actually on point with that because, Kathryn, I'm sorry to throw you on the spot, but a year before, me and Kathryn, we had a class together and we did not know each other whatsoever. We never once interacted until we decided to sign up for the Puerto Rico trip. And that's where me and her actually ended up becoming, like, even to the point to close friends, where in comparison
Oh.
to a year ago, it was like we were just obscure of each other. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's a perfect example that once you start like sharing a space with someone, once you start eating with that person, once you start like interacting with that person on a frequent basis and traveling with each other, it's like only a matter of time before you guys ended up becoming close.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah, I only knew him as like the person that would rush into the classroom, and I was taking bets with myself to see if he would fall over a desk because he would rush in the classroom. And I said, one day it's gonna happen.
That's
And it
so funny.
and it did happen. Almost
Oh,
did.
oh my gosh. That's an interesting dynamic you guys have there. But that's still very nice. Like I remember when I was traveling abroad, I came with a group of guys that honestly we only met once and we barely interacted. We're like, "Oh, hi. Nice to meet you." And then after like the when we came back, we became friends and even got to be better friends, coming back here. So, I think that's really nice. I just really like that when, some people who don't know each other become friends after experience. So that's nice. Did you travel more as a group or individually during your personal time?
Well, during my personal time, we traveled more as a group, or at least as a duo, or as a trio, because it's like so like initially when I was trying to like do it on my like on my own time by myself, it was kind of boring. It was kind of dull, and like I wasn't having any fun with it. So when it came to like the informative sessions and the workshops, when once they were finalized, we would like go to different places, like maybe to a nearby restaurants
Mhm.
or this new hot place in town that everybody's talking about. We will go as a group because that's like that's what's enthralling about it. That you're talking to like your new peoples.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's cool.
It's like he said, it was either a group or like a duo or a trio. We would always, especially when we had our own time, it would be like, so what are you doing? You want to go out, get something to eat? You want to go grab something? So
Mhm.
it was always fun having someone else there because by yourself, it's just like, oh, okay, now I'm just by myself.
Ah, I get that. I mean, I do personally like solo traveling. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I love solo traveling, but I also like to share experiences with my friends. I'm like, oh my God, did you see that? How does this taste? How's this? Like, I really like that too. So that's nice.
Like one perfect example of that was when some of us ended up going to a San Sebastian festival.
Mhm.
Um, we only went there for one day, but it was taking over throughout the whole weekend. And it was after one of our informative sections,
Mhm.
and it was like it's one of the last days in Puerto Rico. We had to
Yeah.
take full advantage of it. Like we had to we had to take this out of the park. And
Yeah.
it was definitely my most memorable, like entertainment wise, it was my most memorable nights. And it was
Wow.
definitely worth it. I danced a lot. My voice was raspy the next day because of how much I was singing and screaming.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. That's so fun.
Same. I don't like going out by myself, so I drag somebody with me. Every time I went outside, I dragged someone. It was either Kathryn or anybody else there, but usually it was Kathryn.
What personal growth or new perspectives did you gain from this experience?
I'm not scared to travel alone.
Ooh.
I'm not. I'd be like, now I'm like, oh, I should just go on on a real solo trip to
Hmm.
see how it feels because I think I did great. Because the most
Wow.
fear was like, supposedly we were traveling alone, so
Mhm.
everybody was like, most of us was the first time traveling without our family. So I'm like, no, I'm not scared. I'm like, I'm ready to go. I learned more, but that was like the one thing that has from the study abroad, like, oh, I'm ready to go on more adventures. Not
Yeah,
just waiting for like I usually be like, oh, let's go. If I need somebody to go, I'm like, no, I'm ready to do it. Like, just let's go.
that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's also that like I haven't been on a plane by myself. So
Mhm.
this was like the first time to see like, can I fly by myself? Can I do
Oh,
this?
hmm.
And now I'm like, yeah, okay, I can do it. I could fly by myself. I don't need anybody. I'm ready to go.
That's so cool.
I would say the same thing too, because prior to traveling to Puerto Rico,
Hmm.
there was only one fear that I had, just one, but it's a very big one, and it's the fear of heights. I
Oh,
like like ever since I was younger, I always had this huge complexity when it comes to getting on an airplane. But I've
Mhm.
always had my family around me. But this time, I'm doing it by myself. I'm
Yeah.
nobody's gonna accompany me for this one. So it was like, okay, I'm not going to like utilize a phobia
Yeah.
to keep me from missing out on something big that could really change my life.
Exactly.
So I decided to like, take the jump. And I will tell you, initially it was killing me in the inside. But
Mhm.
then once we were in the air, it was like only a temporary phobia. It's like once we
Yeah.
launch ourselves in the air within half an hour, I was just completely intact.
That's cool. Yeah, usually I feel like I when I traveled by myself for the first time, I was actually a little bit nervous for sure. I don't know why I get this, but every time I'm flying, I get like plane sickness, especially in long flights. Like the longest flight I've been in, aka the longest travel time, would be 26 hours. So, I would be 16 hours in the plane and then like a layover for a few hours and then like 3 hours more. That's how I went to Japan. It was rough, I would say. It was very, very rough for me because my plane sickness was really bad, not to mention my nerves at the time were 10 times bad. So I was suffering, but it was worth it. That suffering was worth it. So hey, all's well that ends well, right? And I think that's a big like not a fear. I think that's a concern. Yes, that's the word. A concern that a lot of students have when it comes to studying abroad. They're like, oh my gosh, the plane, everything, like the traveling, how the traveling is gonna be. And then when you're there, like, oh, we cool, we vibe, we're vibing right now, you know? So yeah, I completely understand your fears. Your fears are valid for sure. Who in your group was the biggest adventurer? And who was the one who also most likely got lost? So that's a fun question.
Gabriel, ¿quién más?
They exposed him.
Yeah, it's Gabriel.
Ooh, dang. Tag team.
I guess I'll say myself too. It's because like I didn't have an off button. I just didn't want to call it quits.
I
Like
get
by
that.
that, by the time like you can ask anybody who was in the trip with us. By the time we moved right back to the hotel after one of our workshops, I will always come up with the question. So what are we gonna do tonight? And it was like, if you guys are not coming, that's fine. I'll go by myself.
Period.
I'll look for a designated area for me, and I'll look for people who want to hang out with me.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh my gosh. That's so
Like
fun.
yes, we like especially me, I befriended so many strangers over there, and I actually talked to
Real.
a couple of them that live over there, especially the taxi drivers.
Oh my gosh, you're an extrovert. You're a huge extrovert. Whoa. That's so fun. What was the most chaotic group moment during the trip?
I would say, well, not collectively because not everyone joined for this one, but I would
Mhm,
say that kayaking part in Vieques.
mhm, mhm.
So like most of us volunteered to join, and it was like a very exquisite experience there. But also, I started I just started panicking out of nowhere there too.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
but no, at least I was able to. Well, Kathryn helped me calm myself, and then we decided to like visit the Bay Area, and it was like it was like you will feel the goosebumps just by looking at the middle of the lake, and then the
Mhm.
plankton just travel around your hand, glowing. It was like a movie scene.
Whoa, that's so cool. Dang, I wish I could experience that. That sounds fun.
He remembers it like that, but I don't remember it
Oh,
like that. I remember it being more chaotic and more like, could you please just relax? You're not gonna drown. It's 3 feet of water. You can stand. Please stop. Please. And look at the water. It glows. There's plankton. Look. So different memory.
I was just yelling like I don't want to look down. I don't want to look down.
No, kayaking is it's kind of scary. I don't blame you. Not gonna lie. Like I've done like I've been on a boat with some of my family members and we didn't know how to row a boat. So we were kind of like stuck in the middle of the river and we were just like trying to figure out how the heck are we gonna move the boat. So yeah, I kind of get that.
I think that was, yeah, that I could say the same thing. Not that, it was crazy, but it was my first time doing it too. So I wasn't nervous. I was just like, the rush of doing something for the first time.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely love that for sure. If you could go back and relive one day of your trip, which day would it be?
I mean, I actually have multiple days, but if I had to choose one,
Hmm.
then I would say like prolonging the San Sebastian weekend because I
Ooh.
felt that one day wasn't enough. I'm visiting this festival and seeing some of the artists that we were familiarized with while growing up.
Yeah.
And like I remember like one of the most iconic moments for me. Everybody talks about the day we visited Rio Piedras when we saw Bad Bunny. Like that was iconic. But I felt that my most iconic moment was seeing an artist that I looked up to ever since my childhood, and it was Arcángel. Once he showed up, I was like, Papi Arca, mi ídolo. And it was like just, it was like super nostalgic because I like it gave me the flashbacks when I was a kid, like, during like during my teenager phase, just listening to those classic reggaeton tracks.
Oh,
And it
that's
was like,
fun.
it was fundamentally like heartfelt at the most.
That's so fun. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that sounds like a vibe, honestly.
Now that Gabriel reminded me, yeah, it will be the Bad Bunny. I mean, I was dying. I was half dead, but I got up my bed and went, went to go see Bad Bunny, which, I seen him before,
Yeah.
but it was so cool just being, there, like the whole
Yeah.
experience.
Oh, that's so fun. That's so fun. And going to a concert in a different country is like, wow. Like you're even more hyped.
It
Like that's so
wasn't
fun.
planned. It was an improv concert, so it was just like,
No way. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
I would have to say Sanse because
Mm.
that night was just like one of the best nights ever, and
Mhm.
it was just fun seeing like I wanted to see a plena band that I love, so I got to see them first, and then we got to see La India, which she sings better on TV than she does live, by the way.
Mhm.
That's kind of upsetting. And then we got to Arcángel was a surprise that no one knew until if you were there and you
Mhm.
were listening to the first band that day, they announced it. So like in like 2 hours, people started showing up in droves because they wanted to see him. And I think they thought he was going to bring out Bad Bunny.
Oh my
Didn't happen.
goodness.
But it was just like so fun because that night there was since it was the first night of Sunset, there was something happening on every street corner. Everywhere you turned, there was something happening and people just out in the street dancing. And I think that was like the one night that I wish I could do, but just make it a little bit longer.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. What advice would you give to students considering studying abroad in Puerto Rico?
mentally and physically ready
Mm, mm,
because it's long, very long days.
yeah.
It sounds fun. We did a lot of fun stuff but sometimes we didn't, I mean, for me, this is like days that I don't want to do nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have
I,
to get
I,
adjusted to everything.
That's fair. Yeah.
I would say choose your time wisely
Mhm.
because I felt that I'm not sure about anybody else, but I didn't think I chose my time wisely because sometimes I would like prolong like my evening times, so then I would sleep later than I should have.
Mhm, mhm.
But at the same time, I also had to like recognize that I have an occupation here, so I had to like wake up punctually, and then like
Mhm,
maybe like probably have my sleeping crisis occur.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
I would say if you're gonna like plan your personal time over there, choose it wisely. Make sure it's
Mhm.
not as conflicting.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, for sure.
And be ready to walk a lot. Like
Oh.
I walk in New York. I'm a walker. I don't drive. But just know that over there, you are going to walk. The minute you step off the bus, you are going to start walking. And it
Wow.
is going to be the most walking you can ever do because now I'm like, you want to walk where? No, thank you. I think I did enough. But just be ready to walk a lot and have an open mind.
Mm,
Puerto Rico is very different from the States, so just have that open mind, especially when you're going to go to like the museums. The museums are not like the museums here, they're in people's houses. So have
mm,
that open mind and be in the moment.
mm.
Don't be like on your phone or anything. Be in that moment because you're going to hear some things and your mouth is just going to drop and you're going to be like, oh, I never knew that before. So it's like be present.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, those are definitely good advice. And I think like going anywhere, true, as well, that would be really good advice. Like you have to be number one, mentally prepared and make sure that you're getting the best out of your experience because in the end of the day, you're in a different place. So you have to be the one to, just go places, go around around the place you are in,
Mhm.
Be excited.
Yes, and I will also like to add on that is like
Hmm.
tend to cherish the content
Hmm.
because this is like a type of insight that not many Puerto Rican natives are able to experience on their own, and we're
Yeah,
experiencing it. So it's like live it like you're never like if you're never getting a second shot at this, like live
yeah,
the moment because who knows whenever you're gonna get like a second opportunity as insightful as this.
exactly, exactly. That is 100% true. Would you go back to Puerto Rico?
I am going back.
Yes.
I'm going back in September, so I'll be going back.
Period. Oh, dang, already. As you should.
Yeah, and I'll be there too in September, so going back.
Wow.
But I'm supposed to go in June because my niece is graduating from college out there.
Mhm,
So maybe a little earlier in June, but in
mhm.
September I will also be there.
Oh, period. Let's go.
I, I have no plans, but 100% sure I will return someday.
For sure. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for sharing your experiences. And I really wish the best for all of you in the upcoming future, of course, in case you're interested in going to Puerto Rico again. Of course, you guys are. So I'm definitely supporting you from the sidelines. Yeah. If any of you guys are interested in a faculty-led program, Winter in Puerto Rico, please do not hesitate to reach out to the IPCE office in Carmen 337 or talk to Professor Magdalena in Lehman to learn more about it. Thank you, and we hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.